You know, for decades, when you thought European finance, you really only thought of one city, London. But what if I told you that a perfect storm, a massive political shockwave, and one of the biggest infrastructure projects in Europe is completely shaking things up? We're going to dive in and ask a huge question. Is Paris building the actual hardware to become Europe's next Wall Street? It sounds a little crazy, right? I mean, how can a new metro system possibly challenge a global financial giant? But this is so much more than just getting people from point A to point B. This is about rewiring an entire city, creating an economic super region. And it's all happening at the exact moment that London's future is looking more uncertain than ever. Okay, so to really get the scale of what Paris is trying to do, we first have to understand the massive mountain it needs to climb. For generations, London has been the undisputed king of European finance, and frankly, the numbers are just staggering. Just take a look at these numbers from 2016, right before the Brexit vote. The UK was handling over $2.4 trillion in foreign exchange every single day. Now look at France, $181 billion. That's not just a small difference. That's a more than 13-fold gap. London wasn't just a competitor. It was playing in a completely different league. And you know, there was a reason for that gap. For years, Paris had this reputation, fair or not, of being a pretty tough place to do business. The whole vibe was high taxes, really rigid labor laws, and a government that got involved in everything. Now, for the super fast-paced world of global finance, that just wasn't as appealing as the much more freewheeling city of London. So while London was ruling the financial world, Paris was quietly planning a revolution from the ground up, or maybe more accurately, from under the ground. It's called the Grand Paris Express, and it is an absolutely epic project. Look at this map. This is not just adding a few new stops to the metro. This is a brand new, fully automated network, and its main goal is to connect the suburbs to each other so they don't have to go through the crowded city center. The idea is to transform Paris from a city with suburbs into a truly interconnected metropolis, kind of like London or Tokyo. To give you some perspective on that, they are adding 200 kilometers of new track. That's basically doubling the size of the Paris Metro, a system that took over a century to build in the first place. And along all that new track, 68 brand new stations. And we're not just talking about simple train stops here. These are being designed as new hubs for businesses and communities that are going to fundamentally change the whole region. And the price tag for all this? A cool 42 billion euros. It's one of the biggest development projects happening anywhere in Europe. Let's be real, you don't spend that kind of money just to make commutes a little shorter. This is a massive economic strategy in motion. Because here's the really brilliant part. The genius of the Grand Paris Express isn't just the tracks themselves, it's what those tracks connect. It's a very deliberate plan to link up the region's economic engines through something called economic clusters. So what's a cluster? Well, it's basically a powerhouse of specialization. Think Silicon Valley for tech, or Hollywood for movies. The idea is that when you put all the talent, the research, and the money for one industry together, you get this explosion of innovation and productivity. Paris had these amazing clusters, but they were all disconnected from each other. And Paris has some seriously impressive clusters. You've got the financial heart in La Défense, a world-class R&D hub in Paris-Saclay, a big aeronautics center at Le Bourget, and the list goes on. The Grand Paris Express is like the network of arteries designed to pump blood between them all, making them work together like one powerful economic superorganism. And this visual really just nails the transformation. On one side, you have the established financial power of La Défense, right? And on the other, you have these brand new, modern urban zones popping up all around the new metro stations. This project is literally bridging the old centers of power with the new areas of growth. And it's really important to remember what experts like this one are saying. Paris isn't starting from scratch here. It already has this bedrock of financial power. It's home to 5 of continental Europe's biggest banks. It has the foundation. The Grand Paris Express is the futuristic infrastructure being built right on top of it. So Paris was busy building this incredible economic engine internally. And then something happened on the outside that changed the entire game. In 2016, Brexit sent a political earthquake through Europe, and in its wake, a massive power vacuum opened up in the world of finance.
Okay, so here's the key thing you need to understand: the European Financial Services Passport. This was basically the golden ticket for London. It meant any financial firm based in the UK could operate seamlessly across all 27 EU countries. With Brexit, that golden ticket was torn up. All of a sudden, for any company wanting access to that huge EU market, being in London went from being an asset to a potential liability.
And that immediately raised some huge, high-stakes questions. For instance, you have these things called clearinghouses. They're like the essential plumbing of the financial system, processing trillions of euros. They were mostly based in London. So the question became, can the European Central Bank really allow the core infrastructure for its own currency, the euro, to be located outside of its control? The EU's answer was a pretty clear no, and that threw the door wide open for cities like Paris to grab that business. And this is where it all comes together. You have this massive internal project, the Grand Paris Express, colliding with this huge external opportunity, Brexit. It's a perfect storm, a once-in-a-generation chance for Paris to step up and reclaim its historic spot at the top. Now, to seize this moment, Paris knew it had to tackle its old reputation head-on. And it did just that. That old perception of high taxes, it was countered with a new, very attractive tax plan for expats. The idea of state intervention, that was replaced by a whole series of pro-business reforms. And in a huge symbolic move, the European Banking Authority itself packed up and moved from London to Paris. It was like Paris was updating its entire operating system to be way more attractive to global finance.
And this right here, this is the central idea of this whole story. The Grand Paris Express is the massive multi-billion euro hardware upgrade, the physical skeleton needed to support a global hub. And all those new pro-business policies, that's the shiny new software, the modern friendly operating system needed to get the world's top firms to move in. So, the stage is set. The hardware is installed, the software is running. An interconnected, dynamic new Paris is rising just as the old financial order is being shaken to its core. The question really isn't whether Paris can compete anymore. It's whether the world's financial elite will come and play on the incredible stage it has so carefully built. This isn't just about a new financial capital. It's about a potential new center of gravity for all of Europe.